Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on our read through of the Harry Potter series. We are of course starting with the first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, the American edition. I guess first I would just want to talk briefly about what these videos are. Those of us that are doing this read through have all read at least one, if not all, of the Harry Potter books. So the first one we've all read. So what we're going to do with these videos as we're reading book one is dive deep into some of the things that are mentioned in the books and do some research on Pottermore. And just kind of discuss some of the elements of the books deeper, as well as, give our own opinions on things sometimes if we feel so inclined. We also want to promote summer reading. So we have Matthew, who is a third grader, joining us on these. And if you are interested in getting your kids involved with FemiNerdity and our read through of Harry Potter, and our reading program, please, if you know me, send me a message on Facebook. If you don't know me, I think you can comment on this video. So we'll get in touch and, always like to have more involvement. So anyway, I am going to be talking about the Sorting Hat. And of course, we first see the Sorting Hat in book one, and I believe chapter 7, the Sorting Hat. And before the Sorting Hat, they are told by Professor McGonagall that they're going to be sorted. And Ron, who's from an old wizarding family, doesn't even know what the sorting ceremony is. He talks about all these theories that he's heard about from Fred and George and heard it was going to be really painful. So you get this sense that the sorting ceremony is kind of like a sacred induction into some secret society. So it's obviously not really spoken about in common wizard conversation at home or out in the real wizarding world. So before I get into everything about the Sorting Hat, I want to read the first speech that the Sorting Hat gives. So Harry first sees the Sorting Hat on a 4-legged stool that Professor McGonagall put it on, and he says it's patched, frayed, and extremely dirty, and that Aunt Petunia wouldn't have let it in the house. He thought maybe they would have to get a rabbit out of it, which is kind of funny and cliche magic. And then it started talking, and it started singing actually, and it said, "Oh, you may not think I'm pretty, but don't judge on what you see. I'll eat myself if you can find a smarter hat than me. You can keep your bowlers black, your top hats sleek and tall, for I'm the Hogwarts Sorting Hat, and I can cap them all. There's nothing hidden in your head the Sorting Hat can't see, so try me on and I will tell you where you ought to be. You might belong in Gryffindor, where dwell the brave at heart. Their daring nerve and chivalry set Gryffindors apart. You might belong in Hufflepuff, where they are just and loyal. Those patient Hufflepuffs are true and unafraid of toil. Are yet in wise old Ravenclaw, if you've a ready mind, where those of wit and learning will always find their kind. Or perhaps in Slytherin you'll make your real friends. Those cunning folk use any means to achieve their ends. So put me on, don't be afraid, and don't get in a flap. You're in safe hands, though I have none, for I'm a thinking cap." So from this, on Pottermore, J.K. Rowling has given us more information. First, that the Sorting Hat is notorious for refusing to admit that it has made a mistake in its sort and on any sorting of a student. This is evident in those first few lines that he says, "You'll never find a hat more clever than I," or something like that. And so obviously the hat thinks very highly of itself and is a bit stubborn. So also it's it's made it's had very few errors in judgment. It also has, legend has it that it once belonged to one of the 4 founders, Godric Gryffindor, and that it was enchanted by all 4 of the founders to make sure that students would be sorted into the correct houses and according to each founder's preference of what they want in students. It's one of the cleverest enchanted objects in the wizarding world, and like I said, contains the intelligence of the 4 founders. Also, we see a bit later when it's sorting Harry that it's talking to Harry in his mind. It's a skilled legilimens, which we will learn what that means in one of the later books, but if you already know, then you know. So it can look into their head and determine the wearer's thoughts, capabilities, mood, and even respond. One thing that I found interesting about the sorting hat is that it seems to also give the students a bit of free will, in that when Harry was being sorted and the hat said it's very difficult, Harry kept repeating in his head, not Slytherin, not Slytherin, and the hat considered this and said, well, not Slytherin, okay, then in that case, better be Gryffindor. So we get the sense that the hat was trying to decide between the 2 houses for Harry and gave Harry free will to choose. So it does take that into consideration. So anyway, that is what I have about the sorting hats, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the videos.
Hi, my name's Matthew, and I'm going to talk about wands on Pottermore, and I made my own wand on Pottermore. My wand is 13 inches, dragon heartstring core, cedar wood, strength of character and loyalty. Owner, high degree
loyalty.
Loyalty.
Okay.
Never dare to cross a cedar owner or his friends. Frightening adversity. Never challenge a cedar owner. Uncle Vernon, first mention of wands in book 1. Here's wand 11 inches, wood holly, core phoenix feather. Wand cores. 3 cores that Ollivander has kept from the past. There used to be a lot more, but Ollivander selected the 3 he believes are of the highest quality. Unicorn hair, dragon heartstring, and phoenix feather. Unicorn hair. Most constant magic and most difficult to turn to the dark arts. Strongly attached
to its owner.
Dragon heartstring. Produce most power, capable of most flamboyant spells, can change owners to a new owner.
Mm-hmm.
Easiest to turn to the dark arts, but not on its own. Phoenix feathers. Rarest core type. greatest range of magic sometimes act on their own, hardest to tame. Wand length, usually 9 to 14 inches. Flexibility and rigidity can change as the owner's willing to change. Wand wood. Ollivander says the wood has almost human purposes, many types.
Okay. Hi, I'm going to be doing a video on the history of the Hogwarts castle. There's not actually much that we know about it. So basically, as far as we know, it was built in the 10th century, and it was built by the 4 founders of the houses. So Godric Gryffindor, Rowena Ravenclaw, Helga Hufflepuff, and Salazar Slytherin. They had some really interesting thoughts on making both names start with the same letter. But anyways, so they all were like, hey, we want to build a school to teach magic to kids. And so they built this huge castle in the middle of Scotland, and then they brought in students, and they would teach them, and eventually one of them decided that he didn't want to teach anyone except for pure-blooded wizards. And so that caused a rift, and they broke up. That was all back in the 10th century. Since then, it's just become known as the strongest magical fortification, safest magical place in the wizarding world. It's probably that way because of how much, like, the concentration of magic that's there, the centuries of students and teachers and just constant magic happening in that one spot has made it like almost impenetrable, and not to mention all of the wards and stuff that were put on the place by all of the headmasters and the original founding wizards. And so yeah, it's just considered one of the safest places, safe from Voldemort, safe from Grimwald, safe from everybody. Then it has 7 floors. It has 142 staircases, which apparently Rowena Ravenclaw decided needed to move around everywhere, so they never stay in the same place. It has 7 known secret entrances. There's probably more, but you don't know about them. It can house up to 1,000 students, or probably, that's how many is said are there at one time. That has a ton of towers. Nobody really has an accurate count on them. Some places say they have 6 towers, some places say it has 32 towers, so I guess it really depends on what you count as a tower. Let's see. Oh, it's possible that it has become sentient. Because of all the magic that's happened there, and because it's so old, it's possible that, and we'll learn later as we go through the books, but it's possible that Hogwarts has developed a will of its own, and uses that to thwart people or help them as it sees fit. And yeah, that's it.